Sapo system sonorim. Jurka chimurim. Sapo system sonorim. Sapo system sonorim. Jurka chimurim. Sapo system sonorim.
I think I was a little, a younger woman, I guess teenager, when I first heard the word Indigenous. It was a little confusing to me, first of all, because it was so long. Second, I had never heard it before. I started to look it up in different articles, passages, and I was a little confused as to what it actually meant. Throughout the years, hearing it being used, being defined by different people, in the different manner that people use it to describe themselves, to me, it is a word that describes a race or a group of humans that have lived here, that originate here, that are born here, and that have spiritual and a special connection to the land. That, to me, is an Indigenous person, someone that knows and respects the land for what it provides for the rest of us.
Indigenous means to me that the traditions, the way of life, how we continue to practice our the values and stories of the past.
It means native. It means to be from native and original lands.
So to me, Indigenous means people traditionally from the land that they reside on.
When I think about Indigenous, I think about like a bigger picture, not just being Tohono O'odham or being, just being Tohono O'odham, but I think about as a whole, not just being here, being at home, but I think about what other tribes that are being represented on a bigger scale, and the things that they fight for, and the traditions that they carry, and the language that they carry, and how they carry them.
So wherever the people, wherever they reside from, their traditional lands, that's where they're Indigenous from. I think, yeah.
When I think of Indigenous, the first thing that pops in my head is First People. Also, I feel like somehow it's connected to the land, because when I think about just my culture and also what I hear from other native cultures and Indigenous people, is there is some kind of cultural tie with them and their identity and their land. And so that's what I think about when you say Indigenous, is that history and connection with the land and with each other.
To me, the term Indigenous is a part of my identity as a Tohono O'odham person. To me, it means that it's the people of the land living on their land.
It means that you come from the land, you're where your ancestors roamed and lived, and you're pretty much home.
Skutash anyap jagik bebis masio up jagik searik hu oya hagi bi waha bi apam bi skut masik wamagin ani. My American name is Francine Larson Segundo. I'm just Jur community Waugyur Chuktrad. My name is Francine Larson. My autumn name is Hummingbird. And I am also named Morning Star, which I said is also not really true. I'm not an early riser. The land gives us everything we will ever need.
So traditionally, when we are born as babies, we drink mud from a medicine man, and that kind of reminds us of where we belong and who we are as people. Because I feel like we, as Native Americans, we are protectors and caregivers of the land, and we are a part of it. We have no ownership of it. We cannot manipulate it to however we want to, even though now we do. But before then, this was who we are. We are part of it. We are part of the land.
For us to have that connection to our land is super important. And a lot of our stories, our traditions, our prayers, we always connect them to our land.
Well, if we go back to a time, the Native people, we had a very strong relationship with the land. They said that if we respect the land, the animal people, the plant life, they in turn would help us out in our life. They would sustain our life. They would give their life for us human beings to be able to carry on with our life. And if we respect that and not overuse it, and be able to then as human beings will be able to continue on with our life, and then not only for ourselves at this time, this generation, but also for many generations to come.
Huh?
How old are you?
6.
6? Oh, wait. Go ahead, do your thing, man. Okay. If you can identify yourself like with the land, then then you become one. If you can't identify yourself with the land, then there's gonna be a disconnect. Like for me, being Tongan, my ethnicity, we drink kava, and kava, we call it whanua, which means land. So when we drink it, we make sure that we treat it with, great deal of respect. We say that in Tongan, malo e puke whanua, when we pass a drink of kava to each other, which means, thank you for holding up the land.
Because it's what you're made up of, and when you pass on, that's where you're gonna go back, is to the land. And the land can feed you, it can clothe you, it can take care of you, as long as you take care of it.
We have our own tribal land that we've been, our reservation, which we really value, and we really hold sacred and tight to us. And we want to make sure that we protect. But there's also this piece that we don't have access to anymore. And it is hurtful. So for me, when we talk about the connection to our land, it's very important.
In this land right here where I stand on today is the original homeland of the Ute people. In this area, there was the Utes, the Paiutes, the Goshutes, the Navajo in this area here. And we lived off the land freely. We were very knowledgeable about not to overuse a particular area. We had our summer camps, we had our winter camps, we had our special areas that we would have our prayers.
We can have housing material, we can have food, we can have things that will provide clothing for ourselves as protection against the elements to survive. And we are taught as children we should be taught as children to have that respect for the one person or the one thing that provides that for us.
That kind of respect you have for your land is pretty much, you're going to treat it like the way you treat yourself, because that is you. You know, you take care of the land takes care of you. It's like a two-way street, almost like a universal law out there. That's the way it goes.
Ska kudenyak anyap chikik nacha forest ya amajit the gawa homa having you wumki kat ina instruction in your agak chikit Floyd Forest kitchen you chikit Elizabeth Ortega you weapon up chikit Ernest Rain to Eagle Forest. That higgy. Avaya ame voshe shunanga sis e oshunanga avaya ame voshe shunanga sis e oshunanga. So one of the things that I'm proud of doing is I'm a rug weaver, and this is my Navajo rug that I've learned to set up. My grandma's originally from Sixlagay up over by the Chinle area called Cottonwood, and she was the one that kind of taught me how to set up the loom, and these are some of my tools in this bag. So, you know, learning how to dye using the plants out on the Navajo reservation to create these colors, and also having respect for the sheep that they shear, it all goes into it, and it's like its own ceremony in itself, where you have to pay homage to the sheep before you shear it. My grandma was like super extra, I felt like, when she went into doing it, but just a learning experience on setting up the loom. This is my rug I'm working on. I'm also a basket weaver, and my mom and my grandma on my mom's side, they showed me how to weave baskets. And utilizing the land to create art is an art form in itself, and it's much more respectful when you learn to do it yourself by picking your tools, or picking your materials I should say, and preparing it, and then actually utilizing it and creating pieces of art, and to express who you are, and especially on what tribe you come from.
How do you hold yourself accountable being on different ancestral territories?
Let's be honest, I don't. And I don't know how. So, I mean, I feel like a lot of well, at least for me and the people, like other Pacific Islanders that I know, we don't really acknowledge, you know. We acknowledge that we came from a different place, and we remember that history, that journey, but we don't acknowledge the folks like here. And so it would be good to have that kind of dialogue or connection with indigenous people from the States or from this area, and see how they want to be acknowledged. Because I feel like again, like it's us being guests. We're guests to your home. You tell us how the rules are, not us tell you how, you know.
So the way how I will hold myself accountable stepping into somebody else's land is, you know, be respectful. That's the one thing that everybody should know or have common sense of, is to be respectful of whose land you're stepping on. Because I've went and visited my neighboring tribes, you know, up north, and you know, out of respect for them, you know, I wouldn't want to destroy it, wouldn't want to, you know, make any noise of it, because, you know, I have had ancestors in my past that have walked through those lands and have fought in battles and have spilled blood to be there, you know, to fight for the land. So I will want to respect not only my tribe, but other tribes that have done the same thing for them too, you know.
It was always taught to us that, you know, we ask what is respectful, we follow what they do. We just don't have the right to go and do whatever we want when we're on somebody else's reservation or on somebody else's land. You know, that's not something that is acceptable. And as a young kid, you would get in trouble for that.
If there are people doing work in those communities from those people, from those indigenous nations, it's important to put their voices first and support them. As an Indigenous person, stand right behind them or next to them if they'll allow it. To support their what they have to say, what they want to be done in their own lands.
This isn't my ancestors' territory, but I like to think of myself as, being adopted into it because I'm here. And when I learned about the ancestors who this land really belongs to, it makes me, naturally for me, it makes me want to give the utmost respect to the land, to the people. I do understand that they're the indigenous ones. This is their ancestors. And I don't know what their ancestors had in mind. If I had to think about it, it probably wasn't me or anyone else in their minds when it came for anyone living on this land. It probably in the ancestors' mind, they had plans for their posterity to just be on this land. Things had happened, but now that we're here, for whatever reason, we should always reflect. We should always acknowledge. We should always have a heightened awareness of where we're at, who they are, and who we are in this whole equation. And with that, come with the utmost respect for both land and people.
How do you hold yourself accountable being on different ancestral territories?
Acknowledging who was there before you, knowing the names, the original name and the names of the tribes that were there.
Can you tell me the ancestral peoples of Provo?
I think it was the Timpanogos people that lived there before all the pioneers came.
We pesamarinya nyai wanya pechamita. We pesamarinya nyai wanya pechamita. Amawa yatam. Kajimawa himatam. Kajimawa yawanya pechamitam. We pesamarinya nyai wanya pechamitam. Amawa yatam. Kajimawa himatam. Kajimawa yawanya pechamitam.